we have made it to the final part of my Indiana Jones review series leading up to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I'm gonna go see it tomorrow with my mom, but first I gotta do this review. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull takes place almost 2 decades after the Last Crusade. The Cold War is at its peak, and Indy is pitted against a Soviet plot to find a mysterious artifact known as the Crystal Skull, one with telepathic properties. I don't hate this movie, but like the vast majority of you, I just don't like it. There are some positives, there is some merit to this film, and of course I'll get to those first. Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, he's still really good. The day Harrison Ford is not good in a movie, that's when we should be truly worried. But he's still really good as Indiana Jones. He still feels like the character. There's still a lot of really good lines for him in the movie. Whenever Marion's introduced, I enjoy their banter. I just enjoyed seeing these characters again interacting. The warehouse fight at the beginning is actually pretty entertaining. Practical stunts, probably the most exciting scene in the movie. And that opening as a whole, I do enjoy. It still feels like what I come to Indiana Jones for. It still feels fun, adventurous, mysterious in parts. Steven Spielberg is a great director, and there are some great shots in this movie. Like where Indy has survived this nuclear blast by staying inside this fridge, and then he comes out and he sees this mushroom cloud. That was such a massive shot. Also where they're at the end and they're standing on this cliff and they're seeing this temple disappear and this alien ship emerge. Great shots that Steven Spielberg really put effort into. However, like I hinted at the beginning, this is not really a good film. And there's a myriad of reasons why I think that. And there's honestly too many ideas in this film. The reunion between Indy and Marion. Indy has a son with Marion. This whole Cold War Red Scare influence. Aliens. But none of them are allowed enough time to really fully develop themselves or breathe. Like with the introduction of Indiana Jones' son. There really is no real chemistry between Harrison Ford and Shia LaBeouf. They work on a basic level, just responding to each other's cues and lines. But it really just feels very cold and just two people in a room. Mutt is just there, and I feel very indifferent about the introduction of this character. I think I've heard some people say that Shia LaBeouf destroys the movie. He doesn't destroy it for me, but he doesn't help it either. There's just nothing endearing about this character. There's just nothing for you to warm up to this character. He just always feels like this presence there is just kind of like an extra plot point that they threw into the movie. A bigger sin of the movie is that the film actually doesn't do much with the reunion of Indy and Marion until their wedding. You know, kind of satisfying, and the fact that it comes at the end of the movie, the end of this whole journey, it weighs down on it and it makes you enjoy it less because you had to go through the whole thing. And like I said, they have a few scenes of dialogue that are fun, that are entertaining, that it brings back that chemistry that they had in Raiders. But there's just large chunks of the movie where they don't do anything with that besides that. This film, for a lot of the runtime, is just action, adventure, just on repeat. And it doesn't really allow for any meaningful expansion on these characters' arcs, these characters' journeys. And I just have to attribute that to the fact that there's just so much put into this movie, so many ideas floating around. You know, a lot of people, including Harrison Ford, thought that Last Crusade was going to be the end of it. But it's like, okay, now they're scrambling to try to figure out how to make another Indiana Jones film, and they're scrapping pieces together and undercooked pieces. And let's talk about that skull, which is honestly the least interesting artifact of the entire franchise. It has the least interesting backstory. I've already forgotten most of it. This franchise, what always made it special is that it was always able to come out with these great ideas of artifacts, and they have these interesting backstories, and these plots going through the movies were always very intriguing. But here it just feels like they're scraping the bottom of the barrel. And that lack of creativity really carries into the action. Whereas some of the action is still entertaining, and some of it is just mindless. Very few of the action and adventure in this film stands out outside of that warehouse scene at the beginning. But what this film lacks in creativity, it tries to make up for in just having weird sequences. Where you get to this forest chase and there's sword fighting. You have a sequence where Mutt is swinging with monkeys. And then to top it all off, these characters are being chased by killer ants. It almost sounds like a scene that you get really drunk and then you're like, hey, what if this happened in the movie? And it's like funny for that moment, but it's like, seriously, ants? Are you kidding me? And the ants shove this guy inside their hole? Like, what? And something I mentioned before with Spielberg is that he has a knack of introducing these other side characters and having them being really entertaining and having nuances to them. But here, they're very lackluster, especially the villains. This guy, Mac, that betrays Indy, he's just there for money. And that's all that is tied to his personality, that he just goes to wherever he needs to get the most green. And I feel kind of bad for Ray Winstone, the actor, because whenever I've seen him in a movie, he's just not given that much to work with. Like, he appears in Black Widow, and that villain might just be one of the worst of the MCU. He needs to find better scripts. He needs to find better characters to work with, because what I've seen from him as of late, it's just, I don't know. Spalko? Cate Blanchett, of course, great actress, and she's good in this movie. She works pretty well with what she's been given, but what she's been given is just a very stereotypical Russian character. She's just after this crystal skull because she wants knowledge, and then it's tied into the Soviet plot of like controlling minds, and that's really as deep as it goes. And finally, this film has some weird visual enhancements and CGI that really didn't need to be there. There are a lot of shots in this film that feel like they are enhanced by digital effects. There are scenes, especially when it's like a very well lit sequence, where the picture just looks overexposed, and I don't see the point to that. Also, the overuse of CGI. The original films were very practical. They used VFX where needed, like I said. Those were very simple films. But here I just felt like everyone involved was like, hey, we got these advancements in technology, so let's try all this weird stuff, way too ambitious, and it just blows out of proportion of where those original films were. In the end, I just feel like, to a certain extent, Spielberg didn't fully care. He might tell me otherwise. He said that his least favorite Indiana Jones film is Temple of Doom, with everything he had to go through with the reception on that one, but I don't know, the body language on this one says otherwise. I don't hate this film. It is just a massive step down from that original trilogy. So massive, it almost doesn't feel like part of this franchise. I'm going to give Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull a C-. But stay tuned for my review of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Like I said, I'm going to go watch it with my mom tomorrow, and then next week I can release my review for that one. But in the meantime, this weekend, I am actually going to start my Mission Impossible franchise review. Guys, if you like what you're seeing here, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, comment down below. What do you think about Crystal Skull? Did I nail this review, or am I actually not seeing certain things that work for you, or are you actually in the minority and you think that this film is underrated? Whatever it is, comment that down below, and I'll see you guys next time.